Hello, everyone. Hola, mundo. Welcome to Voces Poderosas 2024. I'm Jackie Bouvier, here to shine the light on our nation's most powerful voices of influence. I'm honored and blessed to have created this movement that highlights all of those amazing líderes here in the United States, but it also celebrates the brilliance of our Latinos here. And Voces Poderosas is a transformative shortcast spotlighting trailblazers, pioneers, catalysts, and leaders. These exceptional professionals bring insightful wisdom to inform, inspire, empower, and catapult you and I to the next level of our lives, our careers, and any place that you are now, this day, today. I'm excited to tell you that I want to welcome una amiga, someone that I've been just inspired by looking up to her and following her. And today I want to welcome Raquel Tamez, an accomplished executive, corporate board member, and public speaker, currently the Chief Inclusion and Engagement Officer at Charles River Associates. Raquel has been a trailblazer in advancing DE&I and ESG efforts with the firm, with an impressive career that includes leading the Society of Hispanic Professional Engineers, where I met her, and serving on multiple boards. Raquel continues to drive meaningful change. And I just want to say, I truly am honored. I want you to join us as we receive her and we listen to how she just shares inspiring journey with all of us. Raquel, bienvenida. Thank you so much for being on Voces Poderosas today.
Mil gracias, Jackie. Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be here, grateful to be here, and I am looking forward to our conversation.
So I truly am excited too. I've been looking forward to this. I've been dreaming about it. You inspire me. And because of that, I want to ask you, who are you, Raquel? Why don't you share your story with us? Why don't you share your journey and what is your why? And how do you align in your life?
Sure. I have to start with my parents. I am the daughter of Mexican immigrants. My father was a migrant farm worker. And that's really where my journey begins, my foundation, my compass. Because I learned from my parents, and they instilled in me this powerful sense of responsibility and the importance of hard work and the value of character and competence. And that's what has driven me throughout my life and my career. And when it comes to my career professionally, I've worn many hats. You mentioned I currently serve as the Chief Inclusion and Engagement Officer at Charles River Associates, which is a global economics consulting firm. It's a publicly traded firm. But previously, I was the CEO of SHIP. And before that, I was a chief legal officer at Source America, which is a nonprofit that strives to create employment opportunities for persons with significant disabilities. So I've worn many different hats, but ultimately, it's about creating opportunities for others, whether when I was a practicing lawyer, opportunities for Hispanic lawyers, and in particular Latina lawyers. I used to joke, but seriously, it was like we're like these unicorns. We're these mystical creatures. You see us and then you don't, and that needs to change. With Source America, it was about persons with disabilities. At SHIP, it was about more diversity and Hispanics in STEM, and now at Charles Rivers, it's about diversifying and making more inclusive the field of economics. So creating opportunities for others has really been a mission, both personally and professionally. But ultimately, when I think about my life and my career, so both personal and professional, I would have to describe it as, transitions and transformation, and ultimately transcendence. Transitioning to these different roles, and being prepared for that, and taking calculated risks where needed, and nurturing relationships along the way. But transformation always, I'm a lifelong learner. I'm continuously learning, continuously challenging myself. I, I get a lot of satisfaction out of challenging myself and making myself uncomfortable and seeing if I can persevere. And then ultimately transcendence, because admittedly, early days in my career, it was about Raquel, and it was about my bank account and my net worth and my title and my scope of responsibility and how many direct reports. It was very egotistical and individualistic and all about me. And I think really when I went into my first nonprofit experience at Source America and served as the chief legal officer and general counsel there, and serving the disability community, is when my eyes were opened and my heart and my mind were open to being in service of others, and going from that one mountain to that second mountain and being of service to others. I'd like to think that I've transcended in that way.
I think those are three beautiful ways of seeing the way that you've transitioned into an eventual transcending piece of your life, because I always say time is amazing, but the seasons are even better because you become seasoned, right, for a reason in your life. And I love how you put that. And I think it's great. Why don't you tell us a little bit about how your Latinidad, how your culture has played a pivotal point or part in your professional life? Since, in the spirit of Hispanic Heritage Month, we'd love to see what that means to you.
Well, it's obviously very personal as a Latina, but admittedly, I wasn't always necessarily proud of being Mexican American and Hispanic, right? And that was a term that was that I learned when I first went to the University of Texas at Austin, and I had an identity crisis because it was, oh, you're Hispanic, you're Latina, you're Chicana, you're Tejana. There was all these labels. I actually had to take a class just to better understand the sort of representation and identification. But my background, my upbringing with my parents who are Mexican immigrants, is foundational to who I am and what I'm about. And even though early on, when I was young and immature and trying to figure things out, I didn't always have an appreciation for that. Thankfully, as I've gotten older and more experience and more battle scars, I really tap into my Hispanic culture and the values that my parents taught me, and really a lot of the principles that I believe connect us as a community. And that's relationships and respect for self, respect for others, and the value of hard work. And so I really tap into that. And this Hispanic Heritage Month, I always find it so very special and deeply personal, because not only is it a time to celebrate the vibrancy and the diversity of our very multifaceted Hispanic community and culture, but it's deeply personal because it's a way for me to remember, acknowledge, and honor my parents and the sacrifices that they made to give me and my siblings a better life. And it also is a time for reflection for me. And I oftentimes think about the people in my life, and in particular, this Hispanic Heritage Month, the women in my life. And I say that because I just got back from this amazing trip to Sicily, where, yes, I was there to celebrate my nephew's wedding, but I walked away with a sense of awe of the Sicilian culture, because I didn't necessarily know this, but there's this, they revere women there and the female, from the different versions of the Virgin Mary. Their saints are women. Mount Etna is referred to as a woman. There's a winery that I visited that only allows women to harvest the grapes because of their delicate touch and their nurturing. And I just found that so powerful. And I've traveled different parts of the world, and I'm not sure if I've ever gotten that sense that the woman is first and foremost. It is a lot like that, you know, in the Hispanic culture, in our community, madres y las mujeres y las latinas. And
Matriarcas.
right, absolutely. And I have an interesting story because I have a really great relationship with my father. He's always made me feel invincible. And so I have this really special relationship with my dad. And I remember coming home from law school and having a conversation with my mother and telling her, you know, Mommy, I never wanted to be like you. And the reason I said that is because growing up, I always saw my father sort of as the patriarch, right? And el rey de la casa. And he was the one making the decisions. But as I grew up and matured, and I realized, well, no, my mom's actually making the decisions. Dad may come out and say what it is, but my mom definitely influenced that decision. And so it's a different type of power. And so I said, you know, all my life, I didn't want to be like you, but now I realize I need to be more like you and sort of balance that masculine power with that feminine power to be more holistic. So Hispanic Heritage Month is, you know, for me, a celebration of our culture. It's connecting with my roots, but it's also recognizing the invaluable contributions of our community. You know, not just our economic power, because, okay, sure, we're 18% of the population, but we represent 25% of the GDP growth. And we're business owners and innovators and leaders. And so we're not just contributing to society and the economy, we're also shaping it. We're shaping the future of America. When I'm asked, you know, or given the opportunity to speak at conferences, on panels and fireside chat interviews like this, and perhaps communicate a message to young people, aspiring leaders, I want to emphasize the importance of representation. You know, showing up as, you know, your full self, your genuine self, tapping into your Latinidad and your Hispanic background and your heritage and your culture, but also, you know, emphasizing leadership development, continuous learning, getting comfortable with being uncomfortable, learning how to take calculated risks, constantly preparing yourself and being ready for when opportunities come your way. You can take those opportunities, even if it's a calculated risk. But I also emphasize the importance of effective communications, because oftentimes I'm asked about, you know, how can I advocate? How can I advocate for this or for that? In order to advocate, you have to have effective communication skills. And so I saw in my days at SHIP and before that, and even now, oftentimes young people not being able to articulate in a compelling way their story, their narrative. And that is super important when you're trying to establish yourself and get recognized for the work that you're doing. You need to be able to effectively communicate first and foremost. And then if you have that competence and that character that I talked about earlier, but credibility, right? You have to be credible. You have to have earned respect from the people around you. So if you have competence and character and credibility and effective communication skills, then you can advocate. And I think as a community, we need more powerful advocates to take back our narrative, to take back our story and influence the way that we need and should be seen and experienced.